My name is Angela. I'm a wife, mom, writer, and photographer behind the blog Crown and Countryside. Join me on my quest to create a slower life with natural food and homemaking. This is a busy weekend we had. I had set out to make a bunch of recipes for different church events and different things that our family was doing. So I wanted to make a lemon cake. I knew I really wanted it to be lemon, I really wanted it to be a cake, and I really wanted it to be sourdough. So those were the three non-negotiables. So I started reading my cookbooks and I came up with a recipe that I think works really well. This ended up being a sourdough lemon pound cake. Everything I read about pound cake said to not overmix it because you want it to be slightly dense with that delicious, heavier pound cake flavor, but you do not want it to be a brick. So you still want it to have a little bit of lightness to it. So I ran my mixer on low and just kind of added everything slowly. As you can see here, I haven't even turned it on yet, but once it's going, I tried to just mix it until combined. But it just turned out so wonderful. It just has that amazing, summery, lemony deliciousness that I was looking for in a recipe. My KitchenAid really gets a workout most of the time. I love this little zester. I picked it up at Kohl's or something a long time ago, and I use it all the time. This little glass juicer is so cute. I picked it up at a garage sale or something for like $1. And if you want to make gallons of juice, this is not the little tool you need. But if you want to just squeeze the juice of one lemon, it is just perfect. I also have a big, I think it's called, the brand is Breville. It's a big Breville juicer. And if you want to really make juice, like to bottle, you can use that. And it's pretty good at extracting the juice from the one side and then spitting the pulp out the other side. But if you're just trying to get a little bit of lemon juice for a recipe, this little glass vintage dish is just perfect. I used my KitchenAid so much that I actually sent it out of whack a little bit. I pulled it apart to clean it, and then when I put it back together, I did something wrong. And then I discovered there is one screw that makes all the difference, and now it is just good as new again. I thought about actually upgrading to a different KitchenAid, like a bigger stand mixer, and I may still do that. This color that I picked out is very 2012 Angela, but I still love it. It's still me. I still love green. So I think I want one with a bigger capacity, but now that I've sunk $400 or something into the actual machine from, 10, 11 years ago, and then I've bought all the attachments and things, I don't really want to have to start over and do all that again. So I will, I'll probably end up getting another one at some point, but this little one is just doing an amazing job. It's a little workhorse there. I actually had some extra batter, so I put I filled 2 extra ramekins with batter for me and my husband. So we just had our own little mini cakes at the end. While that was cooking, I had yogurt that I made that had been sitting in the fridge and I needed to strain it. So it has been sitting in the colander, so I am just pouring it through the sieve and using the wide mouth funnel to fill up my half-gallon jar. Normally you would get a half-gallon of yogurt and a half-gallon of whey, but I had been scooping out some of it to use it earlier, so it's a little bit less than that, but it's still quite a bit. It's so easy to make. It practically makes itself. And you don't have to strain it like this. If you want to stir it back in, it's going to be like normal yogurt that you would buy, just your regular, Dannon, Yoplait, whatever. It's going to be that consistency. If you want it to be Greek yogurt, then you have to strain the whey out. So I usually do that. And you can also, there's so many things that you can use whey for. You can use it in place of water or milk in any recipe. You can use it in your garden. You can feed your animals with it. You can just do so many things. I've heard of people washing their hair and their face with it. I've never done that. But whey is just one of those magical things that just has a lot of healing benefits to your skin on the outside and also your internal organs on the inside. So definitely eat your yogurt and strain your whey and use that when you're cooking. I will make a cake or something, and when it calls for water, I use whey instead, and it's just so good. It gives it a really nice, rich flavor, and just adds a lot of protein and stuff to it also. Honestly, the straining part is probably the most involved part of the entire yogurt making process. I had another small jar of whey in the fridge, so I'm just going to combine them. You can also make a fermented lemonade with whey. It's really good. And here is the finished pound cake. It turned out so well. It was one of those things that as soon as I put it out, it just disappeared, which to me, that is the sign of success. This is my first zucchini that I got in 3 years because the squash vine borers have killed all my zucchini plants for several years. So when I got that first zucchini this year, I felt a sense of victory, and I definitely wanted to make sure that that did not go bad on the counter, as sometimes things do in my house. So you cannot can zucchini. Zucchini is too dense. The heat from the pressure canner will not reach the inside of the jar, and the bacteria that will grow in it makes it unsafe once you open it. And it also, there's also the small factor of the fact that the zucchini is going to be complete mush and you wouldn't even want to eat it even if it wasn't dangerous. So I'm slicing this up for the freezer, and I can throw it into a stir fry later or a zucchini bread or something, but I was pretty happy that I have a zucchini plant that made it to fruition this year. I've harvested more zucchini since then, but this first one was very, very longed for because my zucchini plants have done so terribly in the last couple of years. Now, I actually direct sowed this zucchini plant in May, which is a lot later than I normally do, and I think that helped. I think it helped a lot to plant it later outside from seed instead of starting it indoors. I also planted it in a different spot in the yard, so maybe that has something to do with it. So my husband says I do not make granola enough, so I said, why not? I'm gonna make granola again today. So this is pretty easy. It's just a list of ingredients that you combine. It couldn't be any easier. You just toast it in the oven lightly until everything is just lightly cooked, not overly cooked. You do not want to burn the raisins, especially the raisins are going to pump up and burn first. So this is just oats, sliced almonds, raisins, and chia seeds. And then I add maple syrup and coconut oil. But you can easily do dried cranberries, dried cherries, different types of nuts. Instead of the chia seeds, you could do chocolate chips. You could do shredded coconut. There's all kinds of things you could do. Most of the ingredients are quite interchangeable with everything else. I would say the one thing that really makes it granola is the oats, but all the instructions I've read have said you can use barley or millet or some other type of grain. I've never done that. Oh, and I put vanilla in everything. I'm basically made of vanilla now because I put it in everything. Here's the coconut oil. I buy it in bulk, so I just keep a little jar that I filled up upstairs. You can also use other kinds of oils. You could do avocado oil or some other kind of oil. You could also put honey in instead of maple syrup. You just need something to be a sweetener and something to create those amazing little clusters that granola is known for, just a little bit of crunchiness. You don't want it to be completely just granular, so the coconut oil and the maple syrup will do that for sure. It's so good for you. When you read the ingredients on just a package that you buy, it's there's a lot of artificial sweeteners, there's a lot of artificial preservatives, just because it has to sit on the shelf so long. If they don't, it's not going to be edible by the time you buy it. So, in my opinion, making it fresh is always better. As you can see, I didn't measure the maple syrup and the coconut oil. This recipe is so forgiving, you almost don't need to. The recipe on my blog has measurements just for a guideline, but it is very forgiving. If you put a little bit too much or a little bit too little in, it's going to still turn out just fine. So I'm kind of just folding it to combine. It doesn't need to be overly mixed. I just want especially the liquids, the vanilla, the maple syrup, and the coconut oil to thoroughly coat each little bit of that. So when it cooks, it'll just lightly toast and stick together. I just use a little bit of olive oil for coating the pan. Technically, avocado oil is better than olive oil for this, but I don't have any avocado oil right now, so this will work just fine. Olive oil isn't as good for heating up as avocado oil. Olive oil is better for salad dressings and things like that you would eat cold. But no matter what people say, you can use it. You can totally use olive oil for coating pans. I don't want my granola to be too thick on this pan because I don't want the oats on the bottom to be chewy. They all need to be nice and crispy. But if I spread them too thin, then they're going to burn. So I'm trying to achieve that perfect middle space where it's thick but not too thick. Okay, now it's already come out of the oven and I'm just kind of pushing it around a little bit just to keep it from sticking too much. So I also decided to try my hand at making some homemade dish soap out of Castile soap. And I am pretty happy with the way it turned out. I'd never done this recipe before. I'm trying it live while I'm filming myself. I had felt naphtha soap, so I just grated some of this up. I bought this cheese grater at a thrift store just for grating. So I use a different one for grating cheese. But I am pretty happy with the way this turned out. However, after I did this, I was reading some more recipes and they said to add vegetable glycerin to make it more sudsy. That was my biggest complaint, is that it didn't suds enough. I felt like it got my dishes really clean, but it didn't have that nice like soapy lather that I was looking for. So I added the vegetable glycerin. The other thing I think I'm gonna do differently, and I may try this again in a future video, is I was reading the blog Our Oily House from Laura, and she's fabulous. I love her and her sister Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone. They are both just wonderful bloggers. Laura's blog said that she, instead of mixing it in the jar like I did or in the squeeze bottle, she mixes hers on the stove and then pours it into the bottle once it's cooled. And I am definitely going to give that a try. So I'm going to do that again in a future video and let you know how it goes, because I think this is pretty good, but it's actually not as good as I hoped it would be. So you can see I was having some issues here trying to get it to mix in the bottle. So it seemed like all the solids kind of sunk to the bottom. And so I was kind of trying to give it a shake and trying to stir it, that kind of thing. And it works. It gets my dishes very clean, so I can't complain about that. But I have some ideas after reading other people's blogs about how to make this better. So I am going to come back and do this again, maybe in next week's video, and we'll see how it worked out. But all this stuff is just trial and error. Keep reading, keep researching, keep trying new things. Since I skipped the lye process, you can definitely, if you are making soap from scratch using lye, you can definitely do it wrong, because lye is very dangerous. But if the lye is already mixed, you're not risking any chemical, issues, any burns or explosions or anything like that, because the soap is already made. You really can't do it wrong. You're just mixing soap and water and baking soda and different things together, some essential oils, and those ingredients are pretty safe to play around with. So you can play with the texture, you can play with the lather, you can do things like that when the hard part has already been done for you. So here I am trying to shake it up, and the solids were just not coming for me. And so I took a chopstick, because we have some chopsticks for when we order sushi. So I'm trying to stir it using that, and that helped. It's just, I think Laura's idea of mixing it in a saucepan over heat is probably the best thing that I have read, and I am going to give that a go. So I'll let you know how that goes. Now, since I'd been up to all this other stuff all day, I decided to do charcuterie for dinner. My family loves it. It's a grown-up Lunchable or a snack dinner, whatever you want to call it. And everyone can kind of graze. You can pick the things that you like. If you don't like the olives or whatever, you don't have to eat them. So I think that charcuterie is almost like the perfect dinner for when you've had a busy day. And it's funny, I spent all day cooking, but none of it was dinner. So we did the charcuterie board at the end of the day. When it comes to sliced cheeses and things like this, sliced meats and cheeses, I get almost all of mine from Aldi, especially when it comes to like some of the specialty cheeses. I have some cranberry cheddar and some goat milk blueberry cheese. I think they call it chèvre. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but all of that comes from Aldi. So I'm a pretty big fan of Aldi. Actually, the board that I'm putting it on there also came from Aldi. The two white dishes on either side came from Pier 1, back when Pier 1 was a thing. It used to be my favorite store, but they are not open anymore. And then the black and white behind the main board that you can see there, that also came from Aldi. So I like to pick up things that'll make my table a little bit prettier at Aldi. I've always wanted to do charcuterie, but I was a little bit intimidated by the visual. But honestly, you can make it look nice. You can also do it in a very casual way. You can do it, for your kids using more kid-like foods like chicken nuggets and things like that. You can also do it. You could do it very fancy. You could invite adult guests over and put rosemary sprigs in between the pieces and things like that. So charcuterie is one of those things that it's easy to play around with, and just a lot of fun. Make it look beautiful and invite some people over, or just take a night off from cooking, however you want to do it. See, this is the cranberry cheddar. It was delicious. I was having a hard time imagining cranberry and cheddar together, but this cheese just makes it perfect. We really like these pretzel thins from Aldi. Aldi is not sponsoring this video, by the way. But we really love a lot of their foods. The prices are good. The food is good. A lot of it is European style, and just really like it. I've seen people do charcuterie where they lay out, like basically trash bags or saran wrap or something, clean ones, of course, on the counter, and they kind of like tape it down and then just cover the whole counter with meat and cheese and olives and fruits and sliced vegetables and dips and things like that. And I don't have the space for that, for one thing, but also I don't really think that's very zero waste to be going through all that plastic wrap and disposable stuff. So I just laid out a bunch of trays, and I don't see anything wrong with laying out cutting boards or, long plates, or, just however you want to do it. Even small plates, it doesn't matter. I think that you could make it look ornate. I like the idea of doing charcuterie also where you have different heights. I think it would be really cool to do like a tiered plate where you have some things that are taller than the others. You might have like a tower of cookies or something, and then all around it is, in a semicircle would be, breads and other things. I think that could be really cool. I believe the rule of charcuterie that I learned was 3, 3, 3, 3s. 3 breads, so it's like pretzels, pita breads, things like that. 3 fruits and vegetables, 3 types of cheese, and 3 types of meat. So here I am trying the soap, and I am very happy with the cleanliness of it. I feel like, you soak dishes in this for a minute and they are pretty clean. So they don't leave a white residue. So I feel like the recipe is pretty close to being there, to being what I need it to be. But I added the vegetable glycerin, and that helped a lot with the suds. And then I am going to try to heat it up over the stove and see if that helps a little bit with the texture. So it's a little bit more of a soap texture as opposed to like a water texture. So as you can see there, there's definitely soap in the water, but it is not bubbly. So I am a big fan of the bubbles. I really want the bubbles. So I got that dish rack off of Amazon a few years ago, and I like it. The only thing is, if you stack plates on it, it is too tall to stack any plates underneath that cabinet. So I'm looking forward to having an open shelf there instead of cabinets. So I would raise it up a little bit and be able to stack dishes all the way through the dish drainer. I do all my dishes by hand. This house has never had a dishwasher in it. It was built in the 50s, and the kitchen is still from the 50s. A few years ago at Christmas, my son picked out a box of those cereal bowls at Costco. There were 12 or 15 of them or something. He bought it with his allowance and gave one. He let my mom and my sister and my sister-in-law and everyone in our family pick one out. And I said, I'll just take whichever one's left. And just lo and behold, the one that was left was black and white, which is one of my favorite color combinations. So I got my favorite one. So that was pretty fun. The number of funnels this house has is ridiculous. We fill up the rabbit water bottles with funnels. I have wide mouth funnels for canning, always filling up jars with something. And there's the Ninja pan that I bake the granola in. Right now, my oven is a countertop convection oven, which works really well, and I have no complaints about it. It is just, I'm looking forward to the kitchen remodel when I actually can get a real range again. But for now, this little Ninja works really well. I am pretty happy with it.